Have you ever considered the fate of the Philistines, those prominent adversaries of Israel mentioned in the Bible? They challenged the faith of a chosen people, engaged in significant battles, and left behind a legacy characterized by strength and enigma. Perhaps you recognize them from the famous tale of David and Goliath, but the Philistines' influence extends far beyond this single event. Who were they really? Where did they originate? And, perhaps more importantly, could their descendants still be among us today? The narrative we are about to explore uncovers a civilization that was not only potent but also resourceful, possessing a rich culture and an identity shaped by constant reinvention. What led to the disappearance of the Philistines as a distinct ethnic group? Have traces of their existence survived, hidden in names, locations, or even modern traditions? Today, we will delve into not just who the Philistines were, but also how their choices, legacies, and rivalries continue to resonate in our present era. Prepare for a journey that traverses the pages of the Bible, the revelations of archaeology, and the mysteries of history. The Philistines are widely recognized as formidable adversaries of Israel during the biblical period. Their opposition was not merely military, it encompassed culture, religion, and territory. The origin of the Philistines remains one of the great enigmas of biblical history. These ancient rivals of Israel are frequently associated with the Sea Peoples, an enigmatic group mentioned in Egyptian records. Their connection to the Mediterranean is apparent, with ties to lands such as Crete and other regions of the Aegean Sea. These details aid in understanding the adventurous and martial character of the Philistines, who migrated to Canaan and established themselves along the southern coast. Is it not remarkable how the quest for new lands shaped the trajectory of so many peoples throughout history, including the Philistines? The Bible mentions the Philistines as foreigners who arrived in Canaan, and archaeological evidence reinforces this view. Discoveries of Mycenaean and Cypriot pottery, characteristic of Mediterranean cultures, indicate that the Philistines were not native to the region. These meticulously crafted pieces reveal a connection to the commerce and art of the ancient world. Imagine the impact that these artistic and commercial skills had on their interactions with other peoples. It is fascinating to contemplate how seemingly simple objects can convey such complex narratives. Egyptian records from the reign of Ramses III recount the arrival of the Sea Peoples, who invaded various regions, including Egypt, before settling in Canaan. Among these peoples, the Philistines stand out, appearing to have been a significant force. These accounts demonstrate Egyptian resistance against maritime incursions but also indicate how the Philistines managed to establish themselves as a power in the region. This persistence amid adversity inspires us to reflect on how we confront challenges that seem insurmountable. Upon settling in Canaan, the Philistines brought with them unique cultural elements, blending their traditions with local practices. This cultural fusion has been evidenced in archaeological sites such as Ashdod and Gaza, where artifacts and constructions combine Mediterranean and Canaanite styles. Philistine society was organized around a unique political structure for the time, the Pentapolis. This alliance of 5 major cities, Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, formed the heart of Philistine civilization. Each of these cities had its own rulers but acted collaboratively in matters of common interest, such as warfare and commerce. Imagine a system that, even when decentralized, was capable of united in critical junctures, showcasing the potency of a well-coordinated alliance. This paradigm serves as a lesson in cooperation amidst diversity. Within these city-states, military might held a pivotal role in upholding Philistine influence. Their recognized military prowess and advanced employment of iron conferred a substantial advantage over neighboring groups. The skillfully crafted Philistine armament symbolized not just power, but also the importance of technological advancements during conflict. Reflect upon this. How often does innovation, be it in implements or strategies, enable us to surmount seemingly insurmountable challenges? Philistine culture mirrored a rich convergence of Aegean and Canaanite influences. They introduced elements from the Mediterranean, such as architectural and artistic styles, while also assimilating local aspects. This cultural exchange fostered a distinctive identity, discernible in archaeological excavations that uncover ornate ceramics and temples exhibiting hybrid characteristics. Is it not captivating how the interchange of concepts can generate something so unique? Perhaps this can motivate us to appreciate the interactions with varied perspectives in our own lives. Beyond material culture, the Philistines possessed a complex society structured into social classes and specific roles. There were military leaders, skilled artisans, and even priests who fulfilled significant duties. The Bible references the lords of the Philistines, indicating a governing elite responsible for crucial decisions. This division of responsibilities illustrates that the prosperity of a community often hinges on each individual diligently performing their assigned role. In what facets of our lives are we contributing to something larger? The Philistines were also known for their festivities and celebrations, often intertwined with religion and politics. These occasions reinforced community bonds and cultural identity. A biblical instance is the celebration held in the Temple of Dagon, mentioned in Judges 16 verses 23-30, where they mocked Samson before his final feat. These events reveal how moments of celebration can also serve to demonstrate power or cultural resilience. Integration between the Philistines and the Canaanites was natural due to their geographic proximity. They adopted aspects of the Canaanite way of life while preserving their traditions inherited from the Mediterranean. This fusion allowed the Philistines to flourish in a region of constant territorial disputes. Similarly, we are frequently challenged to balance our roots and traditions with the evolving dynamics of our surroundings. Religion formed a core component of the Philistine identity, influencing their military, social, and political decisions. They worshipped a pantheon of deities that reflected their connection to the Mediterranean and Canaanite culture. Among the primary gods was Dagon, a divinity associated with fertility and harvest. The Bible mentions the Temple of Dagon in 1 Samuel 5 verses 1-5, where the Ark of the Covenant was placed by the Philistines, resulting in supernatural events that revealed the supremacy of the God of Israel. This event occurs shortly after the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant in a battle against Israel, which represented for them a military as well as spiritual victory. They believed that by possessing the Ark, they had defeated the God of Israel. What occurred in the Temple of Dagon in Ashdod demonstrated the contrary. After capturing the Ark, the Philistines placed it in the Temple of Dagon, their primary god, as a war trophy. Dagon, often associated with fertility and abundance, was represented by a large statue in his temple. By placing the Ark next to Dagon's statue, the Philistines likely intended to showcase the subjugation of the God of Israel to their idol, a demonstration of religious and cultural superiority. However, at the break of dawn, the statue was found fallen on its face before the Ark of the Lord. The Philistines, upon discovering this, set the statue upright, only to find it fallen once more the next morning, this time with its head and hands severed. These occurrences were interpreted as signs of Dagon's weakness before the God of Israel. It also suggested divine displeasure with the Ark's presence within the Temple of Dagon. Following the statue of Dagon's fall, it was found face down on the floor before the Ark, as if bowing in reverence to the Lord. The Philistines quickly righted the statue, possibly interpreting the incident as an accident and seeking to restore its position. However, on the subsequent day, an even more striking event occurred. The statue was once again prostrate before the Ark, but this time its head and hands had been severed, leaving only the torso. In ancient Near Eastern culture, decapitation and the severing of hands symbolized utter defeat and complete humiliation. This image served as a potent reminder that Dagon, like any idol, was powerless against the living God. This episode profoundly impacted the Philistines. Not only was the honor of Dagon utterly disgraced, but the event also unleashed a series of calamities upon the people of Ashdod, including plagues and diseases, as documented in the subsequent verses. These occurrences demonstrated that the Ark of the Covenant was more than just a symbol of God, it carried his very presence and power, making it clear that he could not be captured or controlled. In addition to Dagon, the Philistines also worshipped Astarte, associated with fertility and warfare, and Baal-zebub, frequently linked to healing and pestilence. These deities were venerated in magnificent temples, the ruins of which continue to intrigue archaeologists. Their religious practices included animal sacrifices, offerings of crops, and divination rituals to seek divine guidance before battles. This prompts reflection on how often we, in moments of uncertainty, seek answers and long for clear signs to direct our paths. The Philistines also employed divination and magic in their decision-making. The Bible references these rituals in Isaiah 2 verse 6, where they are mentioned as pagan influences rejected by Israel. They believed these methods could predict the future and ensure military victories. Although such practices may seem distant to us, the human inclination to understand the unknown and seek control over the future is universal. This innate need challenges us to consider where we place our trust today. Philistine temples were not merely places of worship, they were also centers of power and political influence. Leaders convened within their walls to make crucial decisions, often seeking divine favor. A notable example is the Temple of Dagon, the setting for the final event in Samson's life, as recounted in Judges. This episode marks the conclusion of Samson's journey as a judge of Israel, culminating in a powerful demonstration of divine power amidst seeming defeat. After being betrayed by Delilah and captured by the Philistines, Samson was taken to Gaza, where his enemies subjected him to cruel humiliation. They blinded him and forced him to work grinding grain, a task reserved for prisoners. For the Philistines, this represented a significant victory over Israel, as Samson was the paramount symbol of the strength and resilience of the Israelite people. This degraded condition appeared to be the end of his story, but God still had a plan. The Philistines organized a grand celebration in the Temple of Dagon, their principal god, to commemorate Samson's capture. This temple was a monumental space constructed with columns that supported the roof and accommodated thousands of people, both inside and atop the structure. The vast crowd of Philistine leaders and citizens attributed their triumph to Dagon, praising him for delivering Samson into their hands. However, the festivities were on the verge of transforming into divine judgment. At the height of the celebration, Samson was brought into the temple to be displayed as a war trophy. He was positioned between the central columns, and in a moment of humility and repentance, Samson cried out to the Lord, pleading. Samson's plea in Judges 16 verse 28, requesting the restoration of his strength to avenge himself on his enemies for his blindness, exemplifies his ultimate reliance on God, even after his errors and downfall. Responding to his supplication, God empowered Samson. With renewed vigor bestowed by the Spirit of the Lord, Samson grasped the two central pillars of the temple and exerted all his might to topple them. The structure collapsed, resulting in the demise of not only Samson but also thousands of Philistines who were within the temple and on its roof. The biblical record notes that Samson's death resulted in more fatalities among his adversaries than his entire lifetime. This event at the Temple of Dagon carries profound symbolism. Firstly, it underscores that even in moments of frailty and disgrace, God can utilize individuals to fulfill his purposes. Secondly, it exposes the inadequacy of pagan deities when contrasted with the might of the true God. The temple, previously a symbol of Philistine triumph, transformed into the site of their ultimate defeat, a reminder that divine glory remains inviolable. The destruction of the Temple of Dagon, coupled with the loss of numerous Philistine leaders, represented a substantial blow to Philistine political and military prowess, weakening their dominion over Israel for some time. The interconnection between Philistine religion and military actions was apparent. Prior to battles, rituals were performed to ensure divine protection. This practice is referenced in 1 Samuel 4 verse 8 when the Philistines voiced trepidation upon learning of the Ark of the Covenant's presence in the Israelite battle camp, acknowledging its spiritual potency. This nexus between faith and warfare illustrates how convictions shape attitudes and strategies, both historically and contemporarily. Like many ancient civilizations, the Philistines also believed in the strength of communal solidarity manifested in their rituals. Religious observances engaged all societal strata, from rulers to common citizens. These festivities served to reinforce cultural and spiritual identity. In numerous respects, This mirrors how modern celebrations fortify bonds and foster unity among people, despite differences. Comprehending Philistine religion is indispensable for unraveling the motives behind their decisions and the depth of their conflicts with Israel. Their spiritual connection influenced their choices and also placed them on a collision course with God's people. For a comprehensive understanding of this relationship, it is necessary to examine the direct clashes between Israel and the Philistines, which define several pivotal junctures in biblical history. The clashes between Israel and the Philistines stand among the most striking accounts in the Bible, illustrating the perpetual tension between a nation chosen by God and a militarily formidable power. During the period of the Judges, the Philistines posed a constant threat, invading Israelite territories and imposing their authority. A notable illustration, as previously mentioned, is Samson's confrontation with the Philistines narrated in Judges, and the capture of the Ark of the Covenant by the Philistines described in Samuel. Another iconic episode is the duel between David and Goliath, recounted in 1 Samuel 17. This event unfolds during a period of heightened tension between Israel and the Philistines, with the two armies encamped on opposite sides of the Valley of Elah. Central to this confrontation is Goliath, a Philistine warrior of almost 9 feet tall, portrayed as a giant equipped with impressive armor and a spear, the point of which weighed approximately 15 pounds, 1 Samuel 17 verses 4-7. His imposing appearance intimidated and terrorized the Israelites. For 40 days, Goliath challenged the Israelites, mocking their army, and by extension, their God. In an era defined by conflict, divine intervention shaped the course of battles. God orchestrated a singular contest, a departure from conventional warfare. Instead of a widespread clash between armies, he proposed a duel between champions, where the victor would secure triumph for their people. Goliath's challenge extended beyond mere physical prowess, it was a spiritual gauntlet thrown down, questioning the very authority of the God of Israel. Fear gripped the Israelite ranks. Not a single soldier, not even King Saul, the supposed epitome of valor, dared to confront the colossal Philistine. It is within this context of trepidation and spiritual defiance that David enters the narrative. A youthful shepherd, dispatched by his father to deliver sustenance to his brothers on the battlefield, David was incensed by Goliath's blasphemous pronouncements against the God of Israel. Fueled by righteous indignation, he resolved to meet the Philistine giant in combat. David's conviction stemmed not from personal physical capabilities but from unwavering faith in God. He declared, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17 verse 37, rejecting the heavy armor and weaponry offered by Saul, David opted for a different approach. He chose his shepherd's staff, a sling, and 5 smooth stones gathered from a nearby brook, but most importantly, he chose faith in the Almighty. This selection appeared illogical, even absurd, to onlookers, but it was an act of unwavering trust. Upon seeing David, Goliath scoffed, dismissing him as a mere boy, ruddy and handsome in appearance. 1 Samuel 17 verses 42-43, he derided David's rudimentary weapon, but David responded with a powerful declaration, "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." 1 Samuel 17 verse 45, in the defining moment, David sprinted towards Goliath, whirling his sling with practiced skill. He launched a stone that struck the giant squarely on the forehead, causing him to collapse to the ground. Lacking a sword of his own, David seized Goliath's massive blade and decapitated him, securing a resounding victory for Israel. This singular act not only felled the giant but also shattered the morale of the Philistine army, causing them to flee in disarray. This narrative continues to resonate across generations, demonstrating that the magnitude of a challenge pales in comparison to the power of divine support. The Philistines posed not only a military threat but also a spiritual menace to Israel. Their religious practices and cultural influences frequently tempted the Israelites to stray from the worship of the one true God. This is evident in recurring patterns of oppression and liberation during the period of the Judges, where Israel's departure from God led to subjugation under their enemies, including the Philistines. These patterns prompt reflection on the profound impact that external influences can exert on our spiritual journeys and the crucial importance of steadfastness in faith. The confrontations with the Philistines also underscore the critical need for strong leadership within Israel. During these times of conflict, individuals like Samson, Shamgar, and Samuel emerged, each fulfilling vital roles in safeguarding the people. These accounts illustrate how God raises leaders in times of crisis to guide his people. Just as in ancient times, challenging circumstances can serve as catalysts for leaders to arise and effect meaningful change. These historical moments invite contemplation on the significance of perseverance and unwavering trust in God in achieving lasting triumphs. The conflicts with the Philistines shaped not only Israel's military history but also its spiritual identity. These confrontations were used by God to fortify his people and reveal his glory. However, like all earthly powers, the Philistines eventually faced decline. It is intriguing to explore how their once dominant presence began to wane, paving the way for new political and cultural dynamics in the region. The diminishment of Philistine ascendancy occurred with the growth of ancient empires. The Philistines, despite their military prowess and structured political system, were ultimately outmatched by the formidable Assyrian Empire. Under leaders like Tiglath-Pileser III, the Assyrians launched a series of incursions into the region, systematically conquering Philistine territories and imposing hefty tribute payments on their cities. This marked a crucial turning point, signaling the erosion of Philistine autonomy and demonstrating that even powerful entities can be overwhelmed by superior forces. The campaigns of Nebuchadnezzar against Gaza and Ashkelon, documented in historical texts and archaeological records, dealt another devastating blow to the Philistines. Babylonian power significantly diminished the political and economic clout of Philistine cities, rendering them vulnerable and increasingly dependent on external forces. It's a compelling reminder of how political upheavals can drastically reshape the destiny of a nation, a phenomenon that continues to echo in modern societies where power structures are constantly in flux. The subsequent Persian and Hellenistic periods further solidified the decline of the Philistines as an independent power. Under Persian rule, Philistine cities were relegated to the status of mere provinces, losing any vestige of their former political identity. Alexander the Great and his Hellenistic successors ushered in even more transformative changes, introducing Greek cultural elements that further diluted the Philistine heritage. These historical junctures illustrate how external forces can effectively erase entire cultures, yet often, remnants of that heritage persist, concealed within the layers of history. Biblical accounts also allude to the decline of the Philistines, highlighting divine judgment upon them. Prophets such as Amos and Zephaniah foretold their destruction, and Zechariah 9 verse 6 mentions that a bastard would inhabit Ashdod, implying the disappearance of the Philistines as a distinct people. These scriptural references invite contemplation on the transient nature of nations and the notion that a higher power ultimately orchestrates the course of history. Beyond military and political factors, the Philistines also faced cultural challenges. The burgeoning influence of other cultures and religions, such as Greek practices, gradually eroded their traditions and values. Over time, they became integrated into a larger mass of peoples under foreign dominion, losing their distinct ethnic and political identity. This phenomenon serves as a poignant reminder that cultures can vanish not necessarily through brute force, but through a gradual and continuous absorption into something larger. One of the most significant moments in this narrative of disappearance occurred during the period of Roman rule. The Romans renamed the region Palestine, derived from Philistia. The connection between the ancient Philistines and modern-day Palestine is more linguistic than ethnic. The term Palestine originates from the name Philistia, which was used to designate the coastal region inhabited by the Philistines during biblical times. However, when the Romans adopted this name to refer to the area, there was no longer an identifiable Philistine presence. The adoption of the term was a calculated political decision, intended to rebrand the region following the Jewish revolts. This distancing between the name and the original identity of the Philistines offers a valuable lesson on how words can carry distinct historical meanings. By imposing the name Palestine, the Romans were not asserting a cultural continuity with the Philistines but rather seeking to sever the land's connection to the Jewish people. This renaming had a strategic purpose: to disassociate the region from Jewish identity. Thus, while the name harkens back to the Philistines, the modern Palestinian identity does not have a direct lineage to the biblical people. It is remarkable to consider how political decisions can shape historical perceptions, often obscuring the original truths. The distinctions between the biblical Philistines and the current Palestinian identity are profound. The Philistines were a maritime civilization with roots in the Mediterranean, while modern Palestinians have a much more recent history linked to Arab and Islamic heritage. This historical disconnect highlights the complex interplay between names, identities, and the ever-evolving narrative of history. Examining the intricate construction of identities over time reveals a recurring theme: the frequent repurposing of names and narratives. This practice can lead to ambiguities that demand careful scrutiny for resolution. The designation, Palestine, for instance, has accrued diverse meanings across the centuries. In contemporary usage, it denotes both a geographical area and a political identity closely linked to the Palestinian people. This progression underscores the dynamic nature of history, its capacity for reinterpretation and resignification. The name, initially designating a limited coastal strip inhabited by the Philistines, now encompasses a considerably larger territory. This raises questions about our comprehension of the historical strata underlying the places we inhabit or study. The disconnection between Philistines and modern-day Palestinians is further emphasized by a lack of cultural continuity. While the Philistines faded as a distinct ethnic group, modern Palestinians share cultural affinities with other Arab peoples. There are no genetic or cultural markers directly connecting today's residents to the ancient Philistines. This disruption serves as a reminder that nomenclature does not always mirror historical realities. Instead, it adapts to the shifting political and social exigencies of a particular era. Nevertheless, the notion of the Philistines as the early inhabitants of Philistia has endured in writings and traditions, preserving their memory. In the region's geopolitics, the legacy of the name, though divorced from its original meaning, highlights the enduring influence of the Philistines in Middle Eastern history. This prompts us to consider how names can transcend centuries, carrying echoes of bygone peoples. To grasp the connection between the Philistines and contemporary Palestine necessitates a thorough examination of history, archaeology, and political science. This complexity gives rise to more significant inquiries: what was the genuine legacy of the Philistines, and how did it impact the identity of the region? Addressing this involves exploring the cultural and technological innovations bequeathed by the Philistines, elements that continue to resonate in archaeological and cultural research. The Philistines left a noteworthy legacy in history, distinguished by cultural and technological advances that shaped their region. One particularly remarkable aspect was their mastery of iron, an expertise that afforded them military superiority over many of their neighbors. Weapons and tools forged from iron not only provided advantages in battle but also facilitated agricultural and economic progress. This technological supremacy serves as a reminder that innovation can revolutionize entire societies, creating opportunities in seemingly constrained environments. The Philistines' impact is also evident in architecture and urban planning. The cities of the Philistine Pentapolis exhibited urban sophistication for their time. Archaeological excavations have unearthed houses and structures that blended Mediterranean and Canaanite influences, demonstrating a capacity to integrate new elements while preserving their heritage. This adaptability imparts a lesson on the importance of balancing tradition and innovation in any cultural setting. Philistine culture also influenced the region's linguistics and toponymy. Terms and names derived from their language persisted, becoming incorporated into the vocabularies of neighboring peoples. Although their language has not been fully deciphered, evidence suggests it was unique but open to external influences. This linguistic exchange reflects the fact that the Philistines did not exist in isolation but were part of a complex cultural mosaic. Envision the impact such rich interaction can have on our daily communication, encouraging the learning of new languages and expressions. Another remarkable area was Philistine pottery, which became an archaeological landmark. Inspired by Mycenaean and Cypriot styles, Philistine ceramics featured distinctive shapes and patterns, reflecting their Mediterranean heritage. These objects were not merely functional but also artistic expressions. Cultural emblems and artistic manifestation, the artistry we observe serves not merely as a reflection of a people's identity but also as a conduit for communication and the safeguarding of their chronicle. It begs the question of whether the objects we craft today will, in time, narrate our sagas in a manner akin to that of the past. Religion, too, exerted a considerable influence on the cultural inheritance of the Philistines, particularly regarding iconography and spiritual practices. Deities such as Dagon and Astarte were depicted in statuary and temples, offering clues to the beliefs and rituals of this civilization. These portrayals not only underscore the pivotal role of spirituality in Philistine life but also illustrate how their concepts influenced and were, in turn, shaped by neighboring cultures. This prompts contemplation on how our convictions mold the legacy we bequeath to future generations. The Philistines, often recalled as antagonists of Israel, were also conduits of knowledge and innovation, enriching the Canaanite region. Their sway extended beyond conflicts, contributing to the evolution of a more intricate and interconnected society. This heritage imparts the lesson that even warring factions can offer invaluable insights, and that no narrative is exclusively composed of triumphs or defeats. The Philistine influence continues to reverberate within archaeological studies and popular culture, frequently depicted in films, literature, and even linguistic expressions. However, the fascination with them transcends mere fiction. Recent unveilings persist in exposing intriguing facets of their chronicle and culture, propelling us to contemplate the curiosities and contemporary inquiries that sustain the Philistines as a captivating subject for historians and researchers. Despite their decline as a distinct civilization, the Philistines continue to pique the interest of archaeologists, historians, and biblical scholars. Contemporary findings have illuminated captivating aspects of this civilization, offering novel interpretations of their genesis and culture. Among the most compelling revelations stem from DNA studies conducted on skeletal remains unearthed at archaeological sites like Ashkelon. These investigations suggest that the Philistines possessed a mixed ancestry, with robust ties to the Mediterranean, particularly regions like Crete, as well as local Canaanite influences. This genetic amalgamation reinforces the notion that they were a people adept at absorbing and adapting to their surroundings. Artistic and iconographic artifacts from the Philistines have also been subjected to extensive study. Sculptures, ceramics, and murals unearthed at archaeological sites showcase unique stylistic traits that fuse Aegean and Canaanite influences. Artistic depictions of human figures, animals, and religious symbols illustrate how the Philistines expressed themselves culturally and spiritually. Envision the impact of these discoveries in revealing the sophistication of a people often remembered solely for the conflicts narrated in the Bible. These artifacts are not mere decorative pieces, they are portals to understanding the daily existence and beliefs of this civilization. Egyptian records also furnish invaluable insights into the Philistines. In temples such as Medinet Habu in Egypt, representations of the Sea Peoples, the group to which the Philistines belonged, are found. These illustrations depict warriors and vessels, showcasing their maritime prowess and distinctive appearance. These images serve as visual testaments to the impact the Philistines exerted on the region's chronicle, documenting their voyages and confrontations. It is captivating to contemplate how these representations continue to connect us to the past. Among the most discussed curiosities is the Philistine diet, reconstructed from archaeological evidence. Excavations in cities such as Gath have unveiled food remnants and utensils that indicate a predilection for meats, grains, and wines. This analysis not only illuminates their dietary customs but also suggests that they possessed well-developed agricultural and animal husbandry practices. Understanding the Philistines' culinary habits provides a more complete picture of their culture. Delving into the Philistines' culinary habits provides insights into their lifestyle, daily activities, and celebrations. Their presence in modern linguistic studies is noteworthy, despite their language remaining only partially understood. Words and names attributed to them in the Bible and ancient texts continue to pique the interest of researchers. This endeavor to decipher their language underscores how language serves as a pivotal instrument for uncovering the thoughts and culture of ancient peoples. Imagine the profound impact of a discovery enabling us to grasp their words directly, revealing fresh details of their worldview. The Philistines' portrayal in popular culture is another point of interest. They are often depicted as villains in films, series, and books based on biblical stories, and remain emblematic figures. However, these portrayals do not always fully capture the sophistication of their culture and history. Recent studies have aided in deconstructing stereotypes, presenting the Philistines as a refined and resilient people. This prompts contemplation on how contemporary narratives shape our perception of the past. Despite fading as a distinct group, the Philistines endure in historical memory and modern discoveries. Their technological, artistic, and cultural contributions are continually explored, ensuring that their stories are never entirely forgotten. As studies progress, we are impelled to ask what more we can glean about them, and how their experiences might illuminate aspects of our own history. These queries connect us to a journey of discovery that continues to inspire scholars and those with a general interest in history. The narrative of the Philistines demonstrates that no people, regardless of their power, are immune to the passage of time and the forces that mold history. What lessons can we derive from this narrative today? The Philistines vanished as a distinct identity, yet their legacy challenges us to contemplate how we construct and preserve our own. What marks are you leaving on the world? Are your beliefs, actions, and choices robust enough to withstand the trials of time? In examining the conflicts between the Philistines and the Israelites, we discern that they were not solely physical battles, but spiritual clashes that revealed who truly held control of history. Indeed, we encounter challenges daily that test our beliefs and values. How do you confront your challenges, with the confidence of David, or the hesitation of Saul? Moreover, the cultural and spiritual practices of the Philistines remind us that our worship and choices reflect our essence. Where do you direct your devotion and energies? Is it toward something enduring or something that time will easily erase? These questions are not merely about understanding the past, but about shaping the future. Finally, the Philistines' disappearance illustrates that if we fail to safeguard our identity and values, they can be diluted by external influences. How are you preserving what is essential in your life? Are you investing in your roots, in what truly matters, or are you allowing the flow of culture to determine who you are? Should this journey spark reflections, do not allow them to end here. Continue exploring captivating narratives, for knowledge is a potent tool.